not using semicolons in JavaScript is stupid. And the only reason that you wouldn't use them is if you were either ignorant or arrogant. You have to be one of the two. The ignorance would be that you think that they're not necessary. And the arrogance would be that you know that they're necessary, but you also know exactly how the semicolon parsing rules work in JavaScript. And so you believe that your brain is smart and capable enough that you can remember when there's an exception and when there's not and always get it correct. So, yes, you always need semicolons in JavaScript. And the only reason that you would not have semicolons in JavaScript is either you're ignorant or arrogant. Ignorance can be forgiven, arrogance at your own peril. Yes, if you just start using prettier, and then you will find out where there are errors in your code. If you are not using a linter, again, that is due to either forgivable ignorance or completely unforgivable arrogance. You should absolutely be using a linter on your code. Now, there are some linters that will know when semicolons can be handled, because basically the semicolons will get inserted automatically, but it doesn't mean that it'll do what you want it to do. And so there are some linters where if the presence of a semicolon doesn't change the behavior, because essentially it goes like this. If the JavaScript parser encounters an error, then it will put a semicolon, it'll back up, insert a semicolon, and continue. And if it continues and there's no longer an error, then it continues parsing in that way. So that's the rule of the JavaScript parser. And so some extremely arrogant fools say, oh, well, you don't need semicolons in JavaScript because the parser will insert the semicolon on an error. And the reason I call them arrogant fools is because the parsing rules are tricky and you have to memorize what those rules are. And some people say, oh, well, there's only 5 exceptions. So if you just memorize all 5 exceptions and you always execute them accurately, then this is not a problem. To which I say, it's also not a problem to insert semicolons. Why would you put extra mental burden on yourself when you don't have to? But basically, whenever there's a new line, that acts as a semicolon in most but not all cases. So it's not worth learning the rules, because this isn't a problem that you as a human need to have as a burden. This is a problem that a machine can handle for you. And so if you have a problem that a machine can give you correct inputs and outputs, then let the machine do its job. And so if you just use a linter and prettier, so I use JSHint and prettier, but I am considering switching to ESLint. I just haven't done it yet. Oh, anyway, JavaScript Jabber is starting, so I actually have to get off the stream and go get on JavaScript Jabber.